Okay, so welcome back to the garden. I'm basically back here trying to see what I want to do with this area, getting it ready for fall. Yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I got in some extra cowpeas back here. You see, they're coming up right there. And then there's a few here also. This is my oldest patch of sorrel, and it's looking really bad right now because of all the heat and drought. We haven't had any rain here since maybe the end of May, and so we are really suffering right now with the dry conditions, and so I'm having to predominantly water what's edible. I can't waste water on flowers, so a lot of my flowers are beginning to suffer. Here I have a small patch of asparagus. I had to move my plants and I had one extra left, and so I put it back here and it has resprouted. It's looking okay to say. We're just suffering with the heat. I have a few rosella plants back here. I believe that's 7. And they're looking okay. They're really young, but I think they're okay. We use a lot of rosella to make cold drinks. And so I have that patch and I have 2 other patches. Here on this little trellis I have some Henderson lima beans, and they're doing okay. Let's see if I can get us over here without stepping on anything. You can see they are starting to put on flowers again. Earlier in the season, before it stopped raining and got so hot, this plant and there's one on the fence here, they were both producing very well, and now they're just holding on, producing leaves. But I think we're about to turn the corner. August is usually our rainy season, the beginning of our rainy season, and so I'm hoping that we start getting some rain soon. Here I have a small patch of Jerusalem artichoke. This whole area used to be Jerusalem artichoke a year ago, and I pulled most of it out and I left this small little clump here. Just because. And hopefully these are more mature than the ones I pulled out, and so hopefully I'll get some good pieces and start a proper bed this year for the this fall. Hopefully I'll get some good pieces, some good sized roots to start a new bed over the winter. Our eggplants are still looking pretty good. We got some flowering here and a few fruit. I have 6 plants here. No, I'm sorry, I have 8 plants here, and they are all still doing pretty well. You can see here some damage, but for the most part they're doing really well to say we're suffering so much with the heat. And not just the heat, the fact that we're not getting any rain. Over here is a new bed, and this is basically just going to be a cactus bed when I'm finished with it. but holy basil has been popping up everywhere. And so I've just been letting it grow because I didn't plant any. I just let the ones that reseeded grow. And I've been harvesting off of them so I can make tea over the winter. And we turn right here. There's another patch of it. Anybody who's grown holy basil knows that for the most part, if you get it to grow one time, it's with you forever. It reseeds really easy. We're back here by the chickens. These are my younger birds. They're Byrox, and it's in the evening, so it's starting to cool off a little bit. And they're just walking around looking for bugs and things like that. Here is my largest sweet potato patch. There's a Seminole pumpkin growing in here and a little onion, but it's mainly sweet potatoes. Earlier in the year I had sorghum growing right here, the broomstick sorghum, and I haven't pulled those roots out. Broomstick sorghum, and I haven't pulled the roots out because I have potatoes under there. I cleaned this area out the other day. I had a big patch of marigolds growing here and a large tomato plant, and so I'm just going to continue to let the sweet potato vine take this bed over. I do have over here a few ash potatoes down in there, some russets, but there's only about 5 or 6 of them, and hopefully they'll come up and mix in with the sweet potatoes. Over here we have our very large Malabar spinach, which is one of my favorite items to grow in the summer because it does really well here and it's pretty. I usually grow it on this fence in between the 2 chicken coops because when I'm just moving around back here, I can pluck off some leaves and throw them into the chickens, and they seem to really like that. I want to take you guys around this side because I want to show you how dry it is. This is a canna. It's a tiger canna. And it's looking really rough right now, but the good thing about canna lilies is they can take our heat. But if you look here at this is a cucumber vine, and it had just taken over this growing area. It was growing up the sorghum and on the little fence, and it was doing very well, and then the drought hit. If you look though, it is still trying. It is still putting on a little new growth, but it's not producing anything anymore. So I'll probably pull it out and replant before it gets too cool. I probably can get some more cucumbers going. But if we come down here, I want you to see this, how the ground is cracking. Look at that. I could stick my hand in it. I'm not gonna because I don't know what might be in there. But this is testament to how long we haven't received rain. And the reason the cucumbers are dying is because if you move this way, the crack is moving this way. And there we go. It's actually splitting, the earth is splitting, and it's killing the vine. I just can't keep up with the fact, I can't water enough to keep this large area moist enough to keep the plants happy. So what I'm doing is, well, before I leave, this is the other run. I don't think any of the girls are in here. Let's see. Yeah, that's Girly. I just call her Girly because she's the loudest. She makes the most noise. Most of my hens are not named because they look so much alike. I have Blue and I have Daisy. I have Girly, and then I have one of the Byrox that she's huge, and I just call her Polly. But back to what I was saying. It's so dry right now, but if the garden is really suffering. So one of the main things that I plan to do during the fall and winter months is come up with me a water tank system of some kind so that I can capture water when it does rain in preparation. This has been my first year experiencing such a drought. I'm in Texas, I'm in southeast Texas, and it's always hot. But we usually get a lot of rain. We stay extremely green here. And our summers are usually quite rainy. You know, we have a lot of summer showers, and we haven't gotten any of that this year. So, and my water bill is ridiculous. So I'm down to just watering the food. I can't afford to water the plants that are just for pretty. I just can't afford to do it right now. Another project I'm going to work on this fall into the winter is this old chicken coop. It's still pretty sound, but I haven't used it in about 3 years. And the weeds are taking it over, and pulled some of the door off and things like that, because at one point I was going to break it down, but I've changed my mind, and I'm going to try to reconstruct it and turn it into a small greenhouse, because I can use a greenhouse. This area here, this is my oldest bed, starting there and going all the way back to almost the alley. I may also make that into a larger greenhouse. But I'm not sure. I'm just thinking about it right now. Here, we go down this way. I just sprinkled in some arugula, and it's starting to come up. I had radishes here, and I let them go to seed because I was low on radish seeds, and so I just pulled them out a couple of weeks ago, and so now I'm just sprinkling seeds in here. Honestly, it's too hot to grow much, but arugula grows very well here, and it really takes the heat, more like a mustard green than the lettuce. So the birds really like it, and so I just sprinkled some here, and it's coming up here and there. But if you see here, it's suffering, but I'll get enough to fill this area in and have extra greens for the chickens. This is a red mustard that's going to seed, and here I put in 4, something's eating on that, but these are purple bean plants. They make those little purple beans. I only had 5 seeds, and so I put, well, 5 or 6 seeds, but I put them here. You have those 2. There's one coming up right here, and there's one right there. So what I'll do with those is hopefully they'll grow and give me some seed, so I have seed for next year. I had 6 artichoke plants. This is one. I only have 3 left now, This was my extra one, and it's doing the best. It's healthy. It's not growing as fast as it should because of the dry conditions, but I am keeping it alive, so hopefully it'll be with us a long time. There's some more Tulsi, and here is a young ever-bearing mulberry tree that I planted at the beginning of spring. They grow really well here, and so I've just been placing them all over the property because they give such a small berry, and at some point I would like to have enough to do something with. Here, one of my red hens, my Rhode Island Reds, died, and she was an older bird. I don't know if it was the heat. One day she was fine, and the next day she was failing, and so I buried her inside this bed in order to add some nutrition and make her useful, give her one more use other than eggs. Hopefully she'll add some good organic matter to this bed. But I covered it up so that we have possums and raccoons, and so I covered it so they don't dig her up. We move forward a little bit here. I have 3 Seminole pumpkins that I just put in, and 3 more. These are about a month old, and under the wire here is about 3 more that I'm trying to sprout. I put the seeds in the ground 2 days ago. And my next big project, when it cools off, most of these projects I'm doing in the fall because right now it's just too hot to be outside doing large projects. But these are my blackberries, and as you can see, they are in bad shape. First, I need to cut out all the old canes, but if you look at the new canes, the ones that should give me fruit next year, they are suffering quite a deal too because of the drought, and I haven't been watering them as much as I've been watering other things because I'm trying to get enough squash and stuff put away for winter. But I'm going to come through and clear out all the old canes, heavily mulch it, and give it some love, and they should spring back. Blackberries are really resilient here, so I'm not really worried about them, but they do look bad right now. I just cleared this section of this bed off today, and I'm going to plant some Blue Lake bush beans in here. This is the time of the year that I just go all out on beans because they usually do well here, and hopefully we'll start getting some rain and some cooler temperatures, which will ensure a good harvest. Again, this is the old chicken coop, and my plan is to take this whole front side off. This is the area where the birds actually slept. See, if you look down in there, there's the ladder going up, and this was the sleeping area. I'm gonna pull all that dead wood off of there, that bad wood off of there, and turn this area into a place to store tools or whatever, and then the other side will be it was their run, and I'll use that to as a greenhouse or a nursery. Look at the lizard. He think we can't see him. He don't move, but look, he's right there. So that's the plan for this back area right now. This brown building is the chicken coop. It used to be an apartment. When I first moved back home, I lived in that. It's like a studio apartment. And we had a massive flood, and then my dad died, and so I ended up moving back in the main house and turning this into our chicken house after I stopped using this one, because the dogs in the neighborhood, somebody was letting their dogs out at night, and while they couldn't get to the chickens, they were terrorizing the chickens. So my first meat birds, 2 sets of meat birds were raised in this, and my red hens, my Rhode Islands, when they were young. And then we stopped using it altogether. Over here, I have another mulberry. It was planted this year also, so it's very young, but ever-bearing mulberries, if we were getting more rain, it probably would. They don't take long. They take real easy. And this little rough little plant is a Valencia orange, and it just had a rough go. I bought it very small. It was a 4-inch plant, and now it's 3 years old. And so since it's really growing a lot this year, I'm going to go ahead and prune it this fall, take the clippings and try to propagate them, and hopefully it'll make, when spring comes back, it'll make it bush out more, because right now it's just a skinny little stick. But I'm grateful for it because it's growing. It has put on a lot of growth, which tells me that it's accepting its place here in this part of the garden. This is our oldest fig tree. If you see here, I netted it. I have to just pull this off, and I'll probably do that tomorrow. But the purpose of netting it was to try to stop the squirrels and the birds from eating it, and it worked for about a month. And then the squirrels became smarter than me, and they started making holes in it. So we did get maybe 3 pounds of figs at the early part of spring, but now it's just a mess. There's nothing in it. They've picked everything off of it, and because of the dry conditions, the tree is really suffering. So what I'm thinking is I'll start working on pulling that netting off and cleaning it up, give it a good mulch. But it's a beautiful tree. Look at the roots. And get it healthy, and take some of these younger leaves and dry them so that I can have them for tea also during the winter months. And I may even try to propagate a few pieces off of it, because I have this one and I have a smaller one, and Mama really loves figs. So I say the net was a partial failure, because it did allow us to get some figs off of it. And the tree is still very healthy. See, that leaf would make a good leaf for drying for tea. You want to get the leaves that are young and tender. If they're, right now I can't see any. The lighter green ones are the best because they're very tender. You don't want to use, well, of course this one is all have blemishes on it because of the drought, but you don't want to use the old tough leaves. You really want to pick the younger ones, right? Okay, well, that's it for the back half of the garden. There's a lot of work I want to get done back here between fall and winter. And so I'm thinking about maybe in a month starting to clear some of this stuff off and putting part of this bed to sleep so that I can build up the nutrition in it. I have to first decide whether or not I'm going to build a greenhouse here. And I'm about 90% sure I am going to do that, because this summer was so harsh. If this was already enclosed with shade cloth over it, it would have been easier for me to use this area instead of trying to water everything. I could have just grew a lot of stuff in this area. So I think that's the plan. And here are the two other surviving artichoke plants. And they are suffering, but they are surviving. So hopefully all three will survive. I can get them strong enough to survive the winter. That will be my first artichoke plants my first globe artichoke plants. Because I did grow some back there by the banana tree. And 2 years ago, and something, I don't know if it was a possum or what, I came back to water and found it dug up. And so I don't know what did that, but like I said, we do have possums and raccoons and dogs that run through the yard from time to time. So anyway, this is what the back garden looks like after so much drought and heat. We're still staying in the double digits, but I'm happy. I think everything is doing fairly well, and in the next couple of weeks it should start cooling off. So thank you for watching and listening to me. And wherever you are, I hope you are fighting through and keeping your garden as healthy as you can. Please subscribe and have a blessed day. Thanks for watching.